October is here once again, and it's a month that Payday 2 players take quite seriously, as it's the month where Crimefest usually takes place. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Crimefest and don't know what it is, it's basically this yearly event where for a span of roughly a week to 10 days, Overkill will continuously update Payday 2 every day or every other day with a whole host of new content, be it characters, heists, weapons, or whatever else they can cook up. But the best thing about these events is that every time they add new content like this, it's always free content that's added and it's never paid DLC. And it's become quite the staple in the Payday 2 community, starting all the way back in 2015 and being rebranded each year with a new name. So for 2016 it was called Hoxton's Housewarming Party, for 2017 it was called Lock and Load, and for 2018 it was called Breaking News. There wasn't a Crimefest in 2019, and the main reason for that was because Payday 2 was not actually being supported at that time. As I'm sure most of you will know, Payday 2's main story ended at the end of 2018, October passed in 2019, and Payday 2 wasn't in full development still, so Crimefest didn't happen. It was the month after, in November, when Payday 2 made its grand return with the Silk Road campaign, and the first heist within that campaign, Border Crossing. But this year, it's October, Payday 2's in full development now, so what's going on with Crimefest 2020? Is it going to happen? Is it not? Well, today in this video, I'm going to be explaining why Crimefest 2020 isn't happening, but I'll also be talking about what content might take its place. Because it's been teased by Overkill that something is still coming this month, and I figured we could get into that and discuss what it might be. Just before this video starts, I'd like to announce that at 6 PM UK time, that's BST tomorrow, I'm going to be live streaming Payday the Heist for the very first time with the help of the Overkill crew. Tobias and Elizabeth will both be hopping in, and I'm very excited, but also very, very scared. So if you fancy checking that out, that'll be tomorrow at 6 PM UK time. Hope to see you there. So without any further ado, my name is Archer Live, welcome back to the channel, and in today's Payday 2 video, let's talk about the potential of Crimefest 2020. Roll the intro. Now, the structure of this video is very intentional. We're going to be splitting it into two parts, and it all surrounds a post that was recently made by one of Overkill's staff members. Back in September, a thread was started in the Steam forums for Payday 2, asking about the potential of Crimefest 2020. The post originally read, "As the support on Payday 2 continues, can we expect a Crimefest this year? We'll totally understand if there are no funds this year." To which Elizabeth replied, "We briefly talked about this in our latest dev stream, and sadly there are no Crimefests on the agenda. However, we do have other plans in motion that we think will be cool." So there you have it, confirmed by an Overkill representative that Crimefest 2020 will not be happening, but also giving some hope as to some new content this month. So let's get into what I believe is the first reason for Payday 2 not getting a Crimefest update in 2020, and it all pertains to a lack of staff. It's a topic I've addressed a few times now, with the news about Payday 3 beginning to surface and people starting to find out more about the next Payday game, but Starbreeze don't have quite as many staff members as they used to. Approximately half of their game developers were confirmed to have already made the transition to working on Payday 3 back in June of this year. It's 4 months after that now, so that could have changed. There could be even more people working on Payday 3 now, especially since this month marks 1 year since Payday 3 entered full development. And so as we've learned, there's only approximately 40 game developers left, probably less now, working on Payday 2 and Payday Crime War. And for Payday 2, we're talking about both consoles and PC, although at this point, I'm not entirely convinced there's a massive console team anymore, for reasons I've discussed in my previous What Went Wrong on Payday 2 on Consoles video, which if you haven't seen, and if you are a console player, I strongly recommend you do give that a watch after this video using the card in the corner of the screen. But since there's no more than roughly 40 developers working on Payday 2 and Payday Crime War, and as I've said, there could be less by this point, there's not really a lot of people around to work on Payday 2, and that's evidenced by how few and far between the updates have been since Payday 2 came back into full development back in November 2019. There was 3 months between Border Crossing and the San Martin Bank Heist, and then there was 4 months between the San Martin Bank Heist and Breakfast in Tijuana, a gap which would never have been as big as it was in Payday 2's prime back in 2017/2018. And so there aren't enough staff members, I believe, to sustain about 7 to 10 days of continuous free content for the game. It just seems a little bit impossible to me to get that level of content out at that speed with so few game developers. But that's only reason 1 of 2. There's a second reason as well, and that one is budget. Now look, I know I've talked about Starbreeze's financial issues till I've gone blue in the face, so let's cut to the chase this time and not tread over old ground. Starbreeze don't have a lot of money, and the main focus of their funding right now is to get Payday 3 out of the door. They're not looking to spend a lot of money on anything else because it won't fund the main project that's there to keep the lights on and to get the company back into financial success the way it was a few years ago. And so if they're trying to plan really carefully where they put their money, they're not going to funnel a ton of it into a series of free Payday 2 updates for the course of a week or more. That would just be them shoveling money down the drain, and there wouldn't be much benefit to it. The Silk Road DLCs are already proving popular and they're keeping people interested, so in terms of reach, I don't think a free update would make a great deal of difference there. They need to be releasing things for Payday 2 the way they have been, where some is paid and some is free, because that way they can actually make some money and keep funding, as I've said, Payday 3, all the stuff we know and have heard before. But those are the two key reasons as to why I think Crimefest isn't happening this year. So now let's lead into the second part of this video and talking about what could happen. Now, as we know, when we read Elizabeth's post earlier, it said that there were other plans in motion that they thought would be cool. So let me get into my two ideas as to what I think this content might be. So let's kick off with the first and probably most likely piece of content that we'll be getting in October, the fourth part of the Silk Road campaign. As I said earlier, there were 3 months between Border Crossing and San Martin, and there were 4 months between San Martin and the Breakfast in Tijuana update. We have now passed the 3.5-month mark since Breakfast in Tijuana released, which means we are in prime territory for the fourth part of the Silk Road campaign to be releasing anytime soon. It could be in a couple of days, it could be in 2 or 3 weeks, but I just think that very, very soon we're going to be seeing it. And since Elizabeth said there is content coming to compensate for there being no Crimefest, it just seems to me that that's going to be the most likely thing, especially since those updates tend to contain both free and paid content. So there will be a free update for people, but some of it will be locked behind paid DLC, and that's why they won't be calling it Crimefest. Not to mention what they put out both free and paid probably wouldn't even be enough to fill a Crimefest anyway. And so we could probably expect another 3 or 4 paid DLC packs, presumably a heist and a weapon or mod pack, and then either a tailor pack, a weapon color pack, or a mix or combination of all of those. But the other option, and possibly the less likely option, it's almost becoming a meme at this point, but it could be update 200. It has been nearly a year since they started this whole hullabaloo with update 199.1.2.3.4. It's been going on for well over half a year now. And as I said in my update 200 video, again, if you haven't seen that video, links in the top right corner of the screen, if they pushed it beyond a year with this whole 199 point something gag, it was going to get stupid. Because there comes a point where you start to think, okay, you're holding off on update 200 for so long, it's never going to live up to the hype. But it's not unreasonable to assume that in lieu of Payday 2's most infamous event that used to happen every year, that they could actually release update 200 to say, we're sorry, there's no Crimefest this year. However, update 200 is finally here. We hope you like it. Go for it. And then whenever we've got an update 200, we can enjoy in lieu of a Crimefest. Now, this idea could go in tandem with the Silk Road Part 4 theory I have as well. It could be that Silk Road Part 4 is update 200, and there's something else in the update beyond the usual little bits of free content and paid DLCs to make it update 200. And so I personally believe that this month, before the month is out in the next 2 weeks, we should hopefully see one or both of these pieces of content as our replacement for Crimefest. The only other alternative is they might have another free update planned, but I just don't see it because they already put one out in August, and 2 entirely free updates in a row for Payday 2 probably isn't very characteristic now of a game that's really, if we're being honest, only getting support just to get money for Payday 3. Personally, I reckon the next free update will be at Christmas. I don't think there'll be another entirely free update until that point. But that brings an end to all of my theories, and as always, now I want to hear what you guys think in the comments section down below. Do you agree with my reasons as to why Crimefest 2020 isn't happening? Do you think there's another reason why Crimefest isn't happening this year? And what are your theories as to what content will release in replacement of Crimefest 2020? Do you think it'll be Silk Road Part 4, or Update 200, or both? Or do you think it'll be something else? Feel free to let me know down in the comment section below. Let's hear what your theories are and get discussing with you guys and just see what you all think, because it's always interesting to know what your perspective is beyond what I say in my videos. But either way, if you have enjoyed this video, as always, you know what to do. Please click that like button because it's very much appreciated and it shows me you like this kind of content and would like to see more. And if you are new around here and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please feel free to do so because it's quick, it's free, and I will always love you for doing so. And if you fancy supporting me a bit more than you already do by liking, commenting, subscribing, all that good stuff, then feel free to head over and take a look at my Patreon page. Donations there are never expected, but they're always appreciated and they always help support me and the channel. And you get some good benefits for it too. There's some Discord benefits in there, 2 days early access to Redcast episodes, which by the time this video goes live, 2 days early access will have started for episode 5 of the Redcast, starring Hoxton himself, Pete Gold. It's a cracking episode and I really hope the Patreon guys are enjoying it. And if you want to become one of them, hop on over and you'll be able to give it a listen if you donate as little as $1. But if you can't afford that, and of course I don't expect anyone to be able to, the episode will be public this Monday at 7 PM BST, that's UK time. But either way, thank you all very much for watching. I will see you all next weekend with a brand new video. Until then, look after yourselves, stay safe, and I'll see you all soon.